And with me now from Melbourne is the Assistant Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg. Mr Frydenberg, Jeff Kennett says Tony Abbott's leadership is terminal. Is he right?
Look, he's certainly not right, and it's a bit ironic for Jeff Kennett to talk about an unpopular leader nearly needing to stand aside. I'd prefer if Jeff made constructive contributions like John Howard did as an elder statesman of the party earlier today when he said Tony Abbott had his full support.
But he's just calling it as he sees it and pointing out that if you're running towards a brick wall, you change direction.
Yes, but I don't think we are running towards a brick wall. I think we are behind in the polls, but it's over a year away, the next election. We have an outstanding record of achievement in just our first 18 months, namely 3 free trade agreements with key partners in the region. Our infrastructure rollout projects, the biggest and the largest that Australia's ever seen, over $1 trillion of projects being given environmental approvals. The fact that we kept our commitments to the Australian people, abolishing the carbon tax and the mining tax, and we saved thousands of lives at sea by stopping the boats.
So
that's
the
a pretty good
electorate's just ungrateful, are they?
No, I think we need to explain our policies better, and clearly we had some announcements in last year's budget which were unpopular. Lee held on to them for a bit too long, but we've learnt those lessons. We need to consult more broadly. We need to reboot in this year's budget, and I think we can claw our way back.
Don't Australians deserve a government that's not learning on the job?
Well, I think every government makes improvements along the way, and may I say, every government is at one time or another behind the polls. I mean, even John Howard was 10 points behind both Kim Beazley and Mark Latham, and he clawed his way back.
Mr Kennett says that support for Mr Abbott has collapsed among Liberal Party members. How is that not terminal?
Well, I don't think that's correct either. I mean, I've had plenty of indications from my Liberal Party members in my seat, and I know that's replicated by some of my colleagues, in support of Tony Abbott, because what they see is the Liberal Party doing to itself what the Labor Party did. And we're very different to the Labor Party. The Australian people rejected the chaos and dysfunction of the 6 years of Rudd, Gillard and Rudd, and the Liberal Party has never, ever tossed out a Prime Minister in his first term. John Gorton went out, but only after he won an election.
But the opinion polls are showing Tony Abbott comprehensively behind. His personal approval rating is diabolical. Other Liberal sources, along with Mr Kennett, say that the party's internal polling shows that your own membership is deserting him. Aren't then parliamentary colleagues like you out of step with what the actual base and the broader electorate is thinking of Tony Abbott?
No, I don't, and you've heard senior cabinet ministers come out unanimously for Tony Abbott in recent days. Yesterday you had Peter Dutton on your show, George Brandis was out on Sunday, Christopher Pyne again today, Matthias Cormann, Joe Hockey, they're all there, but also backbenchers. I saw Angus Taylor out yesterday. Andrew Nikolic sent an email to all his fellow colleagues saying, let's get behind Tony Abbott. And today, Craig Kelly, who held a seat in Western Sydney, which was very marginal when he won it, posted a Facebook post which he said, these are the 20 reasons, Lee, I support Tony Abbott, even if Tony Abbott gave Camilla, made her a dame, that he'd still support her. So, look, there are plenty of my colleagues who are well behind Tony Abbott.
Well, if that is the case, doesn't Tony Abbott need to say put up or shut up and have a show of strength and call on a spill to flush out these dissenters?
Well, why should he if there's a vocal minority?
To be operating on the front foot rather than passively waiting to see what happens?
Well, let's wait and see about the discussion next week in the party room. That's an important opportunity for people to either air their grievances or to make other points as they see fit. But we're all Liberals. We're all on one team. We're very different to the Labor Party. In fact, they're our political opponents. I didn't come into politics to give them a free kick. Tony Abbott was an incredibly successful opposition leader. As a result of his leadership, Labor got its lowest primary vote in 100 years. As I said, he's had a great record of achievement in his first 18 months, and now he's got a plan for the future.
Every time you say that, though, what you're saying to voters is, and you people just don't get it.
No, I'm saying that we have listened to your concerns about some of the unpopular policies. And you know, for example, the Medicare co-payment, Susan Lee is going back and consulting key stakeholders, as you'd expect her to do.
Barnaby Joyce bet his house last week with me that Tony Abbott would lead the coalition to the next election. Do you care to offer up your place as well?
Well, you know, my house is heavily mortgaged. I'm not sure my wife would appreciate that, but I'm very confident that Tony Abbott will retain the leadership and lead us to the next election.
You've got 4 sitting weeks, just 4 sitting weeks until the next federal budget, yet your projections from last year's budget are in tatters. You've not been able to implement billions of dollars worth of policies you had hoped to. Doesn't that alone signify that this government lacks the leadership required to manage the economy effectively?
Well, let's go through that. As a result of our reforms and our ability to cut Labor's debt...
But you don't deny the truth of what I've just said, do you?
Yes, I do. We will be, as a country, $170 billion lower in our debt than we would have otherwise under Labor over the next decade. And that means the interest bill is lower, which means more money for roads, schools and hospitals. But, you know, we've got $30 billion plus of savings that are being blocked right now in the Senate, including $5 billion worth of savings that Labor took to the last election that are now blocking.
Yesterday the Reserve Bank cut interest rates to deal with the soft economy. You've been in power for 18 months. Isn't that a sign that you're leaving monetary policy to do all the heavy lifting because you're not taking the right decisions?
Well, as you know, the Reserve Bank is independent and I welcome that interest rate cut. It's the first in 18 months. It's a 25 basis point cut, and it would mean that an average family with a $300,000 mortgage will be $750 a year better off, Lee. Now, when you combine that with the major drop in oil prices, which will leave the average family $1,000 a year better off, and you combine that with the abolition of the carbon tax, which will see the average family $550 a year better off, that's pretty good for a lower cost of living.
Josh Frydenberg, thank you very much for coming in this evening.
Nice to be with you, Lee.